Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you joined us this afternoon. My name is Andrea C. Scott, and I am the founder and CEO of ABC Educational Services and ABC Resolve Consulting Agency. I'm so glad you had a chance to hop on and join us as we continue to talk about those strategies to help you put your plan into action for 2021. I'm so excited. Throughout this whole year, throughout 2021, we'll be continuing to talk about those strategies that'll help you put your plan into action for 2021. You don't want to miss it. We'll be having guests, we'll be having some fun things going on to help motivate you, things to kind of help you stay encouraged because this is a journey, but you can do it. It's not impossible. Your dreams, your goals can come to pass, and we're here to help you see that happens in 2021. So I'm so excited, and I hope that you've been getting started, that you went through your gathering process. Now you've developed those action steps. So now we can begin to map out your year. Now remember, just like I talked about before, this is not a race. So know that if you have not started yet, there's no better time than now, right now. So please know that you can start today. If you have not got it started working on accomplishing that goal, putting those action steps in place, you can start today. Please feel free to look at our replay. We have our replays here on Facebook. You can look through our page. You can like our page also on Facebook. We have our YouTube page. You can go to our YouTube page, ABC Educational Services, Andrea C. Scott, and look at the other segments that we've done that have led up to this point of mapping out your year and organizing your planner. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me, Andrea C. Scott, at 720-427-8901, or you can contact me at ABC Education Services at gmail.com. And there's also a variety of platforms. If you'd like to message me or inbox me, please feel free to do so also. I will definitely get back with you. So I wanted to dive in today. I'm so excited that we're at the point of mapping your year out, adding what you need to make sure that those action steps happen. So if you've already done this process, as I've shared before, please feel free to use this just as an opportunity to review. See if maybe do I need to tweak some of my action steps to refine them, to make them a little more effective, to ensure that successfulness of that. Please feel free, and we welcome you to continue to join in with us as we go through this. So today, we're ready. Are you ready? I hope you're ready to do this. We're ready to map out our year. So I wanted to just give you some reminders that the whole purpose of planning, I know some people are like, why go through all this? Is so you can successfully complete those action steps. Now remember, the key is not to prioritize what is on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So that is a mind shift. So our point is not to fill our schedule with activities, but to schedule our priorities. So we want to make sure that we're doing that as we're mapping our year out. So remember, we want to live a balanced quality life. That your balance leads to abundance, as we had talked about in the gathering process. And that is a quote from Stephen Covey from his book, First Things First, as we will look a little more on this. a little later in our segment today, there was something else that I just wanted to kind of share with you. I thought was really powerful, just as a reminder for you. So today, our focus is to plan, prioritize, and produce. And our produce is producing those actions, producing those results that are going to make sure that your plan comes to pass, that you close the deal in 2021. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the important things that I wanted to start off with as we set up, please make sure, if you don't have it, please make sure that you have your personal vision and mission statement. You have your goal that you're wanting to put in place and map out for this year in your planner, and you actually have your planner. Either have a physical planner, and here's mine. You either have your planner, or you have opened up your electronic version of a planner that you're ready to map out, you're ready to color coordinate. Listen, whatever works best for you, please do that. As I shared before, I really like to use multimedia. So although I do have a physical calendar that I look at, a planner, I do have electronic version. But whatever works best for you, go ahead and take a minute, get that in your person, something to write with, so we go ahead and get started, or ready to start typing in your thoughts and ideas as we begin to get started. So one of the important things that I would like for you to think about before we start adding our action plans, our action steps to our planner, is to consider that time component. Now, we talked a little bit about that time component in the gathering process. Now, remember that time component is related to your personal vision and mission statement. So we're wanting to make sure that the time that you are incorporating, I just wanted that to be a reminder, that it's connected. It's connected to your personal vision and mission statement, which is connected to your goal, which connects to your action step, which helps you produce those steps to put your plan into action. So let's go ahead and look at this time component. So one of the things that is important to ask yourself is, okay, now I know that I need to map out my plan for the year as it relates to accomplishing my goal. So one of the things that is important to ask yourself is, how do I want to do this? And when I say how, I mean, what are the increments that you want to use? Do you want to map out your year completely for the whole 12 months? Would you prefer doing it for 6 months? Would you prefer doing it for 90 days, which there are 4 quarters in the year? And I will give you that information for those of you who would like to use that. Or there's a 30 days, which I don't really recommend that, but if you want to get started, getting started is key. Okay, so if you want to start with 30 day, to start just getting your little feet warm, feet wet, go ahead and get started. If you need further support, please feel free to reach out to us. We are here to help you. So if you choose the year, I know some people shy away from mapping out their plan for a year because it may appear to be overwhelming. That's why I wanted to make sure that you have different options available to use to map out your action steps, your action plan, to ensure that your goal happens. So if you choose to use a year to map out your action plan, I highly recommend for you to use that last 60 to 90 days of the year as a way to which I'm hoping that you're making milestones and markers throughout your planning, just to monitor how you're doing, that self-evaluation, self-reflection, and make sure you're still on point. But to use that as an opportunity to see, where do I need to refine any of my goal or my action plan. Okay, not your action steps, but your action plan. Okay, so that 60 to 90 day time will help you map out what your next year will look like. So I highly recommend, for those of you who decide, go for it, and want to use the 1 year option to map your year out. When you are mapping out your year, try to incorporate at least 60 to 90 days to plan for your next steps. And that's if you did not accomplish your goal. Now, there are some goals that we know may take more than a year. And it's okay. The goal is that you accomplish them. We know that things happen within a year, within a time that we may have to adjust our timelines. So that's completely okay. But know that at least have that 60 to 90 day window to look and consider your next steps. So we're talking anywhere from like October to December, to use that time or plan for time. You don't have to use the whole 60 to 90 days just to completely focus on that, but wanted to encourage you to block time out for that planning for next steps. So as the end of the year hits you won't be overwhelmed on, okay, what do I need to do now if I have not accomplished my goal. So for those of you who decide to use 6 months, just the kind of same philosophy applies. The 6 month increment, if you decide you want to just divide your year into 6 months, and focus on the first 6 months, instead of trying to take a bite out of the whole year at once, planning for your action steps. Hello, thank you for joining us. And what I would do is plan within a 30-day, at least 30 day to 45 window to continue to plan for those next steps into your next 6 months. It's very important, if you choose not to map out your plan for the year and use and plan for the whole 12 months. If you decide to do it in 6 month increments, or you decide to do it in quarters, make sure you're incorporating time to continue to plan out what those next action steps need to be. So for those of you, and we're just setting things up, just getting started. This is all part of your decision process that you're making before you begin to map out your action steps in your planner. And this is so important to consider your time component, because your time component will determine how you are going to prioritize your action steps and what that productivity will look like. So for those of you who may decide that you want to use quarters, and there's 4 quarters in a year. So I wanted to read these out to you, so you'll know what they are if you don't already. Just wanted to read them out to you. And these are in 90-day windows. Okay, so if you're wanting to plan maybe 3 months, if you think 6 months is too much or a year is too much, you have your 3 month window, which is a good time for you to really be able to see and evaluate how you're doing, how your action steps are going. Am I focusing on my goal, or am I allowing other things to consume me? Am I working, putting out fires, or am I really sticking to my goal? So I wanted to read these out to you just so you'll be aware of what the quarters are. And as I said, they're 90-day increments. All right, so we have the first quarter, which we know is we're in right now, which is January, February, and March. The second quarter you have April, May, and June. Your third quarter is July, August, and September. And then the fourth quarter of the year is October, November, and December. So the same thing applies. If you choose to use quarters, I would highly suggest and recommend that you begin planning for your next quarter, probably midway in, making that time so it doesn't creep up on you what your next action steps need to look like. Okay? So that's part of the time component. Making a decision on what does my plan need to look like? What increments am I going to use? So the second important decision that you need to make is to decide, when do I want to start? Do I want to start working on my goals today? Or do I want to wait until the third quarter to begin? That's going to determine what your plan will look like. If you choose to wait and decide to maybe perhaps do your goal, work on your goal later on in the year, I highly recommend that you use that time for preparation time to get ready, to get started on your goal. And what do I mean by that? Preparing our families, preparing ourselves, preparing our schedule. As we had talked about in the gathering process, looking at any barriers, reflecting on the roles that you may have and seeing those that may need to be adjusted before you start working on your goal. If you believe you may not be ready to get started today, or you have not gotten started, that's okay. Make a solid decision on when you want to start and use that time working up to prepare. It's okay to be prepared. That's part of your plan. When you're planning, be prepared. Be prepared so when you begin working on your goal, you won't feel like you're fumbling all around if that's not something that's comfortable for you. Because we know that when we dive into the deep, we're going after those things that we know are important to us, that we want to achieve. There is some level of unfamiliarity. So this is a phase step as you're moving out. So it's okay to take that time if you believe that you need more time to say, oh, I don't think I'm ready. Use that time to plan and prepare and prioritize so you can produce the results that you're looking for when you start your goal. So I just wanted to share that. That's so important. That's so important to keep that in mind, because we know that we're our own barometer. We are not competing with anyone else's life, anyone else's goals. You are working, striving towards what you believe best fits your personal vision and mission for yourself. Okay, so I wanted to be clear and encourage you on that. We're not comparing or competing, but we are doing those things that line up with our personal vision and mission statement for our lives, so we can complete our purpose and accomplish our goals. But one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about as we're talking about this time component, avoid daily planning. Let me say that again. Avoid daily planning. We want to avoid that daily planning. We want to avoid that pitfall. I wanted to share something with you from Stephen Covey, from his book, First Things First. It's one of my favorites. This is a jewel. This is a gem. If you don't have it, I highly recommend that you purchase this. There's a lot of things in here that still apply today. So I wanted to share something with you, and he talks a little bit about those pitfalls of daily planning. So let me just read this to you. But the problem with focusing on daily planning is that it's like trying to walk down the street while looking through the telephoto lens of a camera. It keeps us focused on what's right in front of us, what's pressing, proximate, and urgent. So we're essentially into prioritizing crises. While the objective of most daily planning approaches is to help us put first things first, the reality is that daily planning keeps us focused on doing urgent things first. This perspective is insufficient to accomplishing the result. So we don't want to do that. Okay, we don't want to fall into that pitfall of just looking at what's happening today, those things that are urgent or crises, because we know that when crises happens, we have to know and evaluate. And I know this might be a little challenging, buckle up, but sometimes we do have to evaluate and say, okay, is this a crisis for me? Is this an urgency for me? Or is this someone else's urgency? There's always ways that we can still help someone else without getting ourselves off track. Now, know that I'm not saying emergencies happen. Things happen that are unavoidable, that we have to work on, that happens as we are accomplishing our goals. We know this. But I'm talking about those things that we know. What is the sense of urgency? If there, especially those of us that you may have families, children, I have adult children, but, friends, loved ones, to know like, okay, can you, and I'm going to use my children as an example, I'm sure they won't mind. But, for instance, like, oh gosh, can you send me some money? Can you cash out me money? Or, can you send me, or can you go get this for me? Knowing that, okay, this might be urgent, but is it urgent enough for me to have to prioritize my day? So that's why it's so important, as we talk a little later, about talking to our families and our support system. So when they know that you are working on accomplishing a goal, they'll know, oh, my mom may not be available. This is not a sense of urgency. Maybe I need to look for another avenue to help me resolve this problem. But know that, don't feel bad. Don't feel obligated, but just that's that whole part of balancing where we have to evaluate, say if this is a sense of urgency. Now, if there's a 911, yes, please, we have to stop what we're doing and we have to work on that urgency. But when we daily plan and we don't know or foresee what we anticipate is happening next, we fall into that pitfall of just crises and looking at day to day. Or what are we going to do today? What's going to happen today? So I encourage you, I wanted to spend some time on this, but I really want to encourage you to be intentional. Be intentional for covering and protecting the time that you are prioritizing for your goal. You are not being selfish when you do this, but try your best to protect that time that you set aside for your goal. Everyone else will be happy when you do that. So want to encourage you. That's another part of self-care, is protecting those things that you know is important. I know, like I said, for myself, I'll use myself an example all day long. There are, a lot of roles that I play. One as a mother, business owner, ministry leader, working in the community, daughter, sister, friend. We can go on and on about the different roles that we have and that we play, but it's so important that we have to know that within those roles, if you do not take that time to seek what you know is important for you, you will not be healthy. You will not be effective for those that you are actually interacting with, your family, friends, business, at work, whatever it may be. We need to be healthy for those, not just for ourselves, but for those that we interact with and play those roles. So feel free and give yourself that freedom to say, hey, this is something that's important to me. because your personal vision and mission statement is important to you. This is about fulfilling your life's purpose. And when it's important to you, and when those that are around you, that are your support system, see that it's important, it will be important to them. And you'll start seeing them come in saying, oh my gosh, aren't you supposed to be working on your action step? Aren't you supposed to be at the library right now? It's 3:00. They'll begin to start reminding you of what it is you're supposed to be doing. And that's when that support system that you have in place is really doing what it is. It's encouraging you, keeping you motivated, and keeping you on track, and keeping you focused. Okay, so I wanted to move on. Didn't mean to spend so much time on that, but I thought it was important to talk a little bit about that, protecting that time that you've prioritized for your goals. So let's continue to look at that time component, what it looks like. We've talked a little bit about making sure that you set those markers, those mile markers for you, to see how you're doing on your action steps, how close you are to accomplishing that goal. Make sure you have those mile markers there, that you set them, you actually physically put them on your planner. I know a lot of times we think about it and say, okay, well, no, I won't forget. Things happen. It's like, oh my gosh, I haven't, checked on my progress. How am I doing? How is it going? And that will help you. That'll help eliminate those unexpected setbacks. There are some setbacks that happen just because, like I said, this new and unfamiliar territory. Setbacks may happen, but those that we can avoid, we can try to avoid them as we set those mile markers, just to look and monitor, say, okay, is this working? Do I need to do something else? Am I overwhelming my schedule where I have all these things planned but not getting anything done? Those are the kind of things that I'm talking about. Just kind of reevaluating, setting those milestones. And that's up to you. I know this sounds like a lot of work, but I'm telling you, it's rewarding. It'll be so worth it. When your goal is accomplished, you can look back and say, oh my gosh, all these things are in play and I accomplished my goal. So know that this work is very rewarding, and that's why it's so important that you enjoy this process, because it's all about you. This is all about you accomplishing your purpose, accomplishing that personal vision and mission statement, fulfilling the purpose in your life. So we invest in so many other things. Look at this as an investment in yourself. You're investing in yourself and your life's goals and dreams and ambitions. So see it as an investment. I'm telling you, it's worth it. So let's continue to look at this time component. So as the setup, once you've made the decisions on where you're going, as far as the increments, how you want to map out your year, you've chosen the goal that you want to start with. Now, know that it's up to you on how many goals you decide you want to do at once. You do not have to bombard your year and say, okay, I want to do 5 goals this year. Make sure that what you're wanting to achieve is realistic, that it's realistic for you, and that it aligns up. Because remember, we're talking about balance. We're wanting to live a balanced quality life, so we don't want to have anything out of balance. And that includes those action steps that we're trying to put in place while we're achieving our goals. So be realistic on how many goals you want to achieve. If you say, okay, I just want to focus on one, let that be the best goal that you achieve, and be okay with that. Okay, so let's look at some of the details that involve with getting set up to put your action steps. This is the fun part. Putting it on your planner, mapping it out to see how it's going to fit with all the other roles and responsibilities that we already have on our schedule. So let's take a look. All right. So the first thing that is important to know, wherever it is, make sure that you're specific. Make sure that your action step is specific. Take your time. So as you are planning your action step, you may not be able to, as we talked about last time, look and evaluate what you believe your anticipated time may be for that action step, because that first action step may take you 3 months. So don't forget to anticipate your time that you need before you start mapping it out on your schedule, because that's going to determine a lot of things and what your schedule will look like, because you may not be able to complete your one action step in a week. So, and that's up to you. As I said before, if you need further support, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. We'll be more than happy to walk alongside you and support you with this, because this is a mind shift. This is a paradigm shift, because we're scheduling our priorities, not letting our schedule run us. Tell your schedule, oh, you don't run me. So we're scheduling our priorities, not just bombarding our schedule with just busyness and ineffectiveness. And exhausting ourselves, so then we're too tired to even want to do anything else. Okay, so make sure that you anticipate that time. And as I said before, be realistic. Don't overwhelm yourself with too many things. Be realistic according to what you know you have in play, according to what you believe you can accomplish, and only you know that. So, there's no brownie points for putting extra steps in and saying, oh, I'm going to finish this in 3 days. Okay, because that's, like I said, we're not competing with anyone else. Our goal is to complete and fulfill our goals, your purpose, your personal vision and mission statement, to fill your purpose. So we're not comparing ourselves with what anyone else is doing, but we're staying focused on completing our purpose that we have in our life, which is accomplishing whatever goals and purposes that you believe are connected to your personal vision and mission statement. Okay, so that's very important. I wanted you to just hone in on that, to know it's not about anyone else. It's all about you. It's all about you. It's all about you. So I wanted to finish off letting you know this is the fourth thing that's important before we really get involved in mapping out our planner. If you thought, wow, what if I only choose one goal? Oh, hello, Reverend Scott. Thank you for joining us. If you get to the point and say, hey, what do I do with this time that I may have left? You rest. Oh, imagine that. You rest. Use that time to replenish, to refresh, and get yourself ready and be prepared for your next goal that you want to put in place. So those are the steps that I wanted to talk to you a little bit. This segment just about mapping out your year. There are a couple of little elements that I wanted you to consider as you are mapping out your schedule. There's a couple of other elements that I wanted to leave you with. Okay. The other one, I wanted to make sure that if you're wondering, like, how much time do I need? If you're asking yourself, what's a good time that I need to map out, to schedule, to plan for my action steps. So I'm glad you asked. So I have a little outline for you, Jen, and these are just considerations. You don't have to use them, but I wanted to make sure that you had at least some examples. So then when you go and work on this on your own, you can come back and say, oh, okay, well, maybe this is kind of a little more realistic. So as we talked about before, when you decide if you want to map out your year, whether it's a year, 6 months, 90 days, whatever that case may be, here are the increments, the sessions that I highly recommend that you use as mile markers for your planning and reflection. So these are 2-hour increments that I'm just, highly recommending just for your planning and your monitoring and your self-reflecting as you are working towards accomplishing your goal. You can do this. All right. So if you chose 1 year, I am recommending that you have at least 8 to 12 sessions, 2-hour sessions and you can have more than these for the year, that you map out as that you're planning, you're reflecting, you're evaluating how you are doing, working towards your goal. If you decide to do 6 months, I recommend same amount of time, 2 hours, but 6 to 10 sessions, 2-hour sessions instead. If you decide to do 90 days, which we're talking about those quarters, those of you who decide to work per quarter, I recommend that you plan for at least 3 to 6 sessions, and this is per quarter, that you set aside, these 2-hour sessions that you set aside to evaluate, to monitor, to see how am I doing, what do I need to adjust, what do I need to change, what do I need to abandon? And we talked a little bit about that in the gathering process, and that's so important. That I wanted to leave that with you. That is so important to know. If you believe, because we're focusing on these 3 P's, planning, prioritizing, and producing. If you believe there's an action step that you're saying, you know what, this isn't working. I've readjusted, I've self-reflected, I've done all of these things and it's still not working, it's okay to abandon that, because that's letting you know there's somewhere in that action step where something else is missing. And this is where I wanted to leave that with you. When you abandon an action step, you're not throwing it away, okay? But you're tabling that action step. You're tabling that so then you can, and this is what I recommend you to do. If you feel that you're getting stuck in a rut and your action step is not mapping out the way you thought, this is where I want to leave you with. One of the things that's important as you're mapping out your schedule to accomplish your goal, make sure that you're mapping out that time to reach out to your support system. Sometimes we don't even realize the support we need until we get into that. So if you see that you are having trouble or you're getting stuck, make sure that you take that time, say, okay, I'm going to abandon this for now, but I'm going to come back to this once I reach out to a support system. And it's okay, because sometimes like, okay, what support system do I need? That's something for you to determine with your self-reflection. Say, okay, I need someone that's going to help me with this. If you don't know someone off the top of your head, like, oh, I can go to this person or I can go to that person, that's when you start doing research. Start looking for social networking to see how can I connect with those that I can partner with, that they can help me accomplish my plan as I partner with them. So that's one of the things also to consider on your planning, as well as when you're working with your support system. I talked a little bit about that earlier. Please, highly recommend. Now, those of you who have already started working on your action steps and your goal that you set place for this year, congratulations, go for it. Keep up the good work. But I highly recommend that you reach out to those support systems that you have. If you haven't already, put those on your schedule. Be intentional about those meeting times that you have with family, with your friends, with loved ones, with other colleagues. And if you believe you might need additional support, put that on your planner. Schedule that time out to reach out. If you believe you need a mentor, you're looking for a mentor. If you think you need some other external support, that deals with your personal well-being and mental health, don't be afraid to reach out to those support systems, because those will help you. They'll help you along the way. You'll feel more peaceful. You'll feel motivated because you'll have the support that you need in place, and you'll feel confident in reaching out, saying, I think I need another support system to be able to accomplish that goal. So know we're not going to, as you abandon, we're not throwing them completely away. We're just going to table them. Now, sometimes that works. Sometimes that may not work if there's an action step, if we're working on a conference, or if you're working on a major event, or you're trying to go back to school. We can't abandon not applying for financial aid because that's important. So make sure that it's relevant to your goal, because some of the things we don't want delay to come and overcome us and consume us and wind up not working on what we know is important and good for us. So importantly, I want to stress this enough, as I talked a little bit about it, and as I said before, in some of our last segments, we will be working on this series, this self-care series, and I hope you join us for it. But in the meantime, make sure you are planning. Make sure you're putting time, setting aside away for self-care for yourself. Okay, it's so important. If you can't do it every week, I want to challenge you to try to have some type of self-care accomplishment that you can celebrate every week that you're doing for yourself. And look for those stress management tools that you believe are best for you. And as I said before, know that within that support system, if you're like, okay, how do I find these? Where do I need to look? If you're not sure where to look, where to go, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Here at ABC Educational Services, we are available to help you and actually give you resources that you need, because that self-care is so important. Because there are times you may feel tired, you may feel discouraged. But as I said, if there's some preventative measures that we can put in place to help refresh, help you stay positive, optimistic about the goals that you have set in place for your life, I'm telling you, there's nothing that you cannot accomplish. So I wanted to end with that, to make sure that it's so important that you're taking care of yourself through this process, that you're having those areas of support that you know are important for you. Make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself as you are scheduling your time on your planner, and make sure that your roles, if you already know the roles that you have outside of you accomplishing this goal, mark those on your calendar so you'll know that there's time that, okay, I know that this time may be a little more limited during this month. Like for instance, my youngest daughter, every year, the ministry that God has given her, they have a conference. So I know during some months, July, August, September, those 3 pivotal months, I know that part of my role in helping her coordinate the event, getting things together, I know that my time will be a little more limited. So I have to plan for that. So when I'm working on accomplishing goals, I have to know, like, okay, I need things to be balanced. So when I plan for that, that means if I know these next 3 months, my role will be more in another area, I have to plan and make sure that when I get to July, other things won't drop with my vision and goal, that God has given to me, to make sure I'm still accomplishing what He has set for me to do, because it's all about our fulfilling that personal vision and mission statement, fulfilling our purpose that we have in our lives. So I'm so glad that you joined us today. I can go on and on, but I want to close here because it is so important. This planning piece is so important, but it's so important to know that you are scheduling your priorities, and don't let your schedule run you. So we're not just putting things in, and know that if you decide to just choose one goal, do that goal, focus on it, and do it well. And celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself in the small steps that you're doing, those action steps. Celebrate yourself as you accomplish each action step, because you're getting closer and closer to meeting that goal. So I'm so glad that you joined. Thank you so much for joining and staying in with us. Next time we meet, I wanted to talk about overcoming those barriers that come up as we work towards our goals. So I hope you join us next time when we talk about that. That's so important in overcoming our barriers, because we know barriers are meant to be broken, and we are overcomers. So until next time, know that the world is anxiously awaiting to see that goal, to see that dream, see that plan come to pass. You're so important. You are valuable. Your voice matters. You can close the deal in 2021. It's not impossible. So I look forward to seeing you and speaking with you next time. Share this with someone that you think will benefit from what we talked about today. And I so look forward to connecting with you. I hope to hear from you soon. Take care. Have a marvelous day.